retro gaming is an often reserved term that covers old game consoles from when you were a kid. The 2600, the NES, the Genesis, and even the PlayStation have all come to define retro gaming for many of us. Thing is, while all these consoles were alive and well and spitting out countless games for us to enjoy, the PC as a gaming platform was growing and developing its own brand of fun. Many of the best console games you remember from your youth also had PC versions, and sometimes they looked and ran quite a bit better. Like gaming consoles themselves, PC hardware and software updates over the years have left behind a great many games to be forgotten. But in this episode, we will be looking at a bunch of classic games as they existed on the PC. Every game you see in this episode is playable on Windows 10 with a bit of tinkering and a few Google searches. I hope you guys enjoy classic gaming on your PC. There has been some form of Sega Genesis compilation available since the Dreamcast was around. The PC is no different in that regard, but there is one fantastic thing about its implementation on Steam. You can buy just the games you want. Only want Shinobi and Streets of Rage? Go for it. You can even still get Sonic 3 and Knuckles there. Many of the games you can add are a mere 99 cents, including classics like Phantasy Star 4 and the Shining Force games. I know most of you don't have a need for more Genesis games, but if you do, this is a great way to officially come by some on the cheap. There has been some implementation of Sega CD remakes over the years also. You can get modern working stuff like Sonic CD and Night Trap, both running in HD resolutions on your PC. These releases tend to be extremely inexpensive, especially when they go on sale. I've seen many of these types of games for $1 or $2 at times. They are often fantastic conversions too, and don't need beefy hardware to perform well. Popular RPGs have seen PC releases as well, and even better, have gotten updates since to make sure they run on modern hardware. Final Fantasy VII looks and runs better now than it ever did on the PlayStation. Textures are smooth, the resolution is higher, and of course it still has all the charm and atmosphere of the original release. If you have never played this game before, the PC version is the way to go. Even not so popular RPGs got a PC release. Some of you may have missed the BioWare classic Jade Empire, a martial arts inspired RPG similar to Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. Make choices that influence your path and ultimately the outcome. This one will run on Windows 10 with a bit of help, and you can often catch it on sale on Steam for next to nothing.
Leaping Tiger!
Hold your tongue, old man! This village is ours!
We have to help. Be careful, these louts will show no mercy.
As good as Dreamcast games could look, the PC versions of them often looked way better. Jet Set Radio on the PC is still gorgeous to this very day. You guys know it well. Battle rival gangs and defend your turf, all while tagging buildings, vehicles, and just about everything in between. You have access to cool tricks, must run from the cops, and it's all set to a great soundtrack and great cel-shaded graphics. It's another one that's really cheap.
Nice.
Even when you can't find that original game you loved all those years ago, there's a good chance someone has made a spiritual successor to it. Mutant League Football was a beloved Genesis classic that was updated big time by Mutant Football League. It took the same premise of monsters, traps, power-ups, and blood-soaked fields and put it behind a great-looking 3D engine that is actually quite good. If you have grown tired of the countless small Madden updates over the years, this one right here will be well worth your time.
Back in my day, we had electric carving knives. Them long extension cords made it tough, though.
You can't talk retro and not talk about some Saturn goodness, and there are some great games out there for you. Nights into Dreams has basically been remade for the PC platform, getting higher resolutions, better textures, and much further polygon draw-in. It also includes Christmas Nights as an unlockable, and you can even play the Saturn version in all its chunky glory. Pair it with an Xbox One pad and you even get that great analog gameplay. I've said it before and I'll say it again, Road Rash 32-bit is one of the best racing games ever made. The PC had a version of it back in the day, and on modern hardware it looks and runs phenomenal. Why play the choppy, blurry 3DO version when you can have a crystal clear, super fast version on your PC or laptop? You can also forget about the load times that you had to sit through on every console version. There is no loading here. It still doesn't sound quite as good as the 3DO version, specifically when it comes to the bike engine noises, and the backgrounds are much simpler 2D images, but everything else is vastly superior. You can still get this one at places like eBay for a tenner or two, depending on completeness. The first PC I ever purchased with my own money was in 1998, and the first game I bought was the 3D accelerated Need for Speed 3 Hot Pursuit. I was enamored with its exotic cars, police chases, and unrivaled visuals. Heck man, I could run its tracks for hours just trying to get away from the kamikaze cops trying to stop me. I still remember me and my best friend setting this up and playing it for the first time. It was my first experience into just how much more powerful PC gaming could be. While it never replaced my love of consoles, I was never without a gaming caliber PC after that. Many of us remember the great Saturn version of Dungeons & Dragons Collection. That eventually came to the PC as Dungeons & Dragons Chronicles of Mystara. It's been upgraded with new display options and now includes the arcade's 4-player co-op missing from the original Saturn release. Aside from the updates, it's still the same hack and slash, magic-filled, story-choosing adventure you know and love. It's a great game and will rarely run you more than $10 or $15. Remember that April Fool's joke I did with Resident Evil 2? I used the PC version for that and it still runs on Windows 10 without much effort. While it doesn't run in the highest resolution, it still looks great and uses my Xbox One pad without any configuration. Load times are non-existent and the only real problem I ran into were the full motion videos wouldn't play. Since that was such a small part of the game, I can live without it. especially since physical copies for the Dreamcast and GameCube tend to be really expensive. It's hard to believe it's been 10 years already, but you can also grab the not-so-retro Sonic and Sega All-Star Racing on the PC. This is a great looking and playing game no matter the platform you get it on, but here it's just simply as good as it gets. If you haven't played this one, it rivals the best of the Mario Kart games and has tons of unlockables and modes to keep you busy. It stars many of Sega's most well-known IPs and has tracks inspired by the worlds they come from. The object is to beat the heck out of other drivers and take first place. It's $10 on Steam, and often half that when it goes on sale. One of the things that sucks about licensed games is that they can often get yanked from digital storefronts never to be seen or heard from again. This means that older physical versions of the games often become the only means to play them. When Outrun 2 was released on the Xbox 360, I picked it up immediately, but it has since been lost to the license gods and no longer available. You can get physical versions on older systems like the Xbox and PlayStation 2, but there was a PC version as well. And man does it look incredible even today. It runs in considerably higher resolution, has superior anti-aliasing, and the blistering frame rate simply adds to the appeal. This is one of my favorite Sega arcade games of all time, and well worth looking into if you enjoy the genre. Before you go buying any of these, or any old PC game for that matter, understand that compatibility may be of issue. Some of the games will not run properly on Windows 10 without some help. Sometimes you can just right-click the exe, go under the compatibility tab, and set it to the operating system that was current when the game was released. And sometimes you will need to locate and properly place missing system files that the game needs to run. Sometimes old games won't run at all because of the type of hardware you are using. It's not all sunshine and rainbows to be sure, but the PC is a great place to find a way to play mini games that tend to be harder to find for consoles you may no longer own. Some of these are available for modern game systems of course, but the sheer volume you can still find at places like Steam and good old games is really appealing. My advice to you is to do a bit of research before you buy an old PC game to make sure you can get it running, and above all, seek help on your favorite forums and enlist the wisdom of those that came before you. There's even community-created mods and hacks available for these old games that can help you get them running. The Need for Speed 3 you saw here was worked on by an independent modder who added a bunch of modern features to get it working with Windows 10. This is perhaps the greatest advantage of using a PC to access old games, the raw versatility and accessibility of its content. This means you get emulators for just about everything, a game library that stays with you hardware change to hardware change, and often the best image quality and performance money can buy. Consoles will always have a place with us, but you can open a wealth of additional content by exploring what's available to you on the PC. I'm Sega Lord X. Thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you next time.